now I'd like to offer the floor to the distinguished representative of France, speaking on behalf of his country, Germany and Switzerland.
Thank you, Mr. Co-Chair. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, allow me to make a personal comment, if I may. For 18 years now, I've had the opportunity to work in various negotiation fora in the United Nations. I must say that the quality of the work of our working group, the richness of the exchanges, and the quality of the panelists that we have had the opportunity to listen to, and the dialogue that exists in this room is of a high quality, and it's perhaps the best that I've seen so far. In any case, with regard to the high quality of our discussions, it's now my honor to speak on behalf of Germany, Switzerland, and France. Urbanization is doubtless a major planetary phenomenon in the beginning of the 21st century. More than 1 out of 2 people live in towns today. By 2030, there will be 3 out of 5. This is a doubling of the urban population, and we must plan for this in developing countries. This exponential growth at an unprecedented speed creates major challenges for sustainable development. The urban issue is vital for the issue of combating poverty. More than 860 million people throughout the world, that is 1 citizen out of 3, live in poor neighborhoods. And this figure, as we were told yesterday, 2 billion by 2030. The changes taking place between rural and urban areas are crucial, whether it be in terms of preparing for sustainable urbanization, reducing inequalities, or ensuring that everybody enjoys food security. We can no longer, as has been said on many occasions, yesterday and today, we can no longer have any opposition between urban development and rural development. They are twins. These are issues that must be integrated together. Towns today generate a major environmental footprint. They consume energy and resources, and they produce 70% of the greenhouse gases. So if they are contributing to accelerating climate change, they're also particularly vulnerable to the consequences of that change, particularly in terms of rising sea levels, since most of the mega cities are located on coastal zones. So there are challenges, but also opportunities, fantastic opportunities. Indeed, cities represent a breeding ground for change. They represent an engine of prosperity and growth. They concentrate 80% of global economic activity, innovation, and creativity. The density in cities and the potential for connecting cities are major levers for development. According to the outcome statement of Rio+20, the future we want, well-managed cities can allow access to services and local economic development while contributing to a more sustainable development. Urbanization is thus an inevitable and irreversible process. Cities are where challenges are crystallized, but also solutions for sustainable development. Taking urban development into account is therefore a precondition for the future achievement of sustainable development goals. Cities, and more particularly sustainable human settlements, and this includes transport, must therefore have an important place on the post-2015 development agenda. Our 3 delegations, Germany, Switzerland, and France, would like to recall 3 major principles. First, we must recognize the crucial role played by local authorities. Sustainable urban development cannot be envisaged without strong regional local authorities and without the involvement of civil society, without the involvement of citizens. Local authorities represent the legitimate political link that are adapted to ensure a sustainable land development. Only they can ensure a participatory decision-making process and policies that are developed by and for the citizen. Democratic, transparent, and accountable local government for each society is crucial for development. Secondly, we must adopt an integrated urban development approach. Only urban and land planning, which is based on a strategic vision of the country, can help us deal with all the urban and rural challenges. While ensuring greater access to infrastructure and services, we must develop cities that are more compact, green and inclusive to ensure social cohesion, connection between all and resistance to climate change. That planning must come with, as a priority, the growth of medium-sized towns and ensure coherency and a good transition between rural and urban areas, and they must be managed at various levels of government. The third principle, and this is not the least important, is to ensure the environmental sustainability of cities and their resistance to climate change and natural disasters. To achieve these objectives, Germany, Switzerland and France support in particular the integration of three priorities in the post-2015 agenda. First of all, it's absolutely vital. It's vital to ensure that there is universal access to modern energy sources and to develop renewable energies and improve energy efficiency. We must promote sustainable cities which use resources in an economic way and which are resistant and which allow for the development of green areas. We must combat climate change by reducing the greenhouse gas emissions. New measures must be undertaken to ensure a proper use of space in terms of buildings, infrastructure, and waste management. Secondly, the second priority is to promote, of course, social inclusion and improving the plight of the poorest. And, of course, this ensures that everybody has access to decent housing and to basic services. While giving priority to poor neighborhoods, we also must continue our efforts under the Millennium Development Goals to ensure universal access to water and sanitation and human rights, whose recognition is a great step forward for human development. Universal and low-cost access to transport, sustainable transport, is also important. This requires urban planning which includes transport to connect various parts of the city and the workplace. With regard to poor areas, priority must be given to preventing development of new poor areas and the rehabilitation of existing housing areas, while ensuring a participative process in all this. One of the keys of social inclusion lies in enhancing land ownership security, enhancing rights, the rights of use, and the traditional rights of land management. And I'd particularly like to say that Benin in particular spoke on this, and indeed these are very clear challenges that must be taken into account in a balanced approach to the urban and rural areas. Greater attention must be given to equal access of women to land ownership. Cohesion and social inclusion also requires that there should be safety in the living space, and this has been emphasized on many occasions. Finally, and this is the third and last priority, and I'll finish with this, is that we must support local, balanced and economic development and make towns and land areas more attractive by favoring innovative companies and integrating the informal sector and supporting the production and consumption of locally produced products and services. Using the local land, urban regeneration, development of culture are also strategic elements to enhance both the identity and the attractiveness of areas, as well as social cohesion. In conclusion, I'd like to insist, Mr. Co-Chair, on the importance of local authorities and regional authorities and civil society, including the private sector, in defining and both implementing the future global sustainable development agenda. And in this slide, I'd like to emphasize the importance of consulting the global task force and local authorities for the post-2015 agenda to find infra-state targets. The future agenda that we are building will not make progress unless we have the full participation of local stakeholders. Their experience is unique, and what they do will be determining in the future. And I'd like to thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of France for his statement, and I particularly thank him for introducing or reintroducing the notion of sustainable cities having a cultural dimension. Let's remind ourselves, if we build sustainable cities, it does not mean that we are going to build the same cities, the same pattern everywhere. All the cities will be different. And the main feature difference will be our cultural background, our heritage, that what our cities will make our home, and that what our cities will make attractive. Thank you very much indeed.